Hey there folks, welcome back to the channel. So I decided to take a little bit of time as usual to kind of sit back and analyze and look through a couple of different things. This has already been out there. I know some folks in the content space on YouTube and such have been talking about it already a little bit, so I'll add my 2 cents to it and go over the pieces. And then of course it'll always be room in the comment section if there's anything that you guys want to kind of talk through or discuss. So I'll outline some of the key points, some of the bullet points that I've taken from it, and I'll provide it from 2 different sources. Links will always be in the description as always so that you can check it out for yourself if you wish. So I'm starting off here with a Cardporn post relating to the Marx Cards and gem-only customers with cards stuck at PSA. Obviously, we've talked about the whole Marx Cards controversy, them going bankrupt, and then cards being kind of held under the PSA banner, and what's going to happen with that, and we've gotten some clarity on it. So I'll go through a couple of bullet points here in the Cardporn post, also some bullet points related to the YouTube video that was archived from the Card Ladder guys, as far as an interview they did with Kevin Lenane, president of PSA, on the crossover. So real quick, summarizing a little bit here. So PSA has agreed to grade all the cards submitted by Marx free of charge as a once-off goodwill gesture. So from a PR standpoint, very good. Customers will still have to pay any upcharges and associated shipping fees to return the cards back to them as per normal, but the grading fees themselves will be covered by PSA. For gems only, that they had a bit of a problem with that because they kind of tried to circumvent it. So that's a little bit of a different thing. The gems only haven't really addressed it too much on the channel. But long story short, they have a little bit of a different situation from the Marx. I'll leave it to you if you want to check it out a little bit more in the Cardporn post. But anybody who's under that category, they're going to have a little bit of a different issue. They will honor the rate that folks related to that were offered as far as that's concerned, but it's not free like the Marx example because Marx is a little bit different in how that situation played out. Now, a couple of big things here. One of them is the scope of the issue itself. As a result of all of this, PSA predicts that it's approximately 50,000 cards. So that's quite a bit affected. From the crossover interview, Kevin Lenane did outline as well that about a quarter of them have been graded thus far. So they have gone through some of it. They do have, in the Marx Cards example, they do have customer names and orders, but they don't have all the email addresses and mailing addresses. So now it's the job of kind of compiling the information and comparing the customer names to their information so that they know where to send and how to contact and all that. In some cases, what they have is social media accounts, things like Instagram handles and things like that, which isn't obviously super helpful. And that's where they do provide some information. Obviously, you can see there at the bottom, email Jackie at collectors.com as part of people having to give some information so that they can then identify themselves as somebody who has cards related to Marx Cards that are stuck at PSA right now so that they can get their stuff graded and then have it returned to them as part of this whole process. Now, one more piece here that's included in the Cardporn post that's kind of important is that as far as the group submitters thing, the fallout of the Marx Cards thing is that you have a situation where now they're going to require a 50% deposit when they submit cards to PSA. So 50% of the order fees, and they're going to be more stringent about the late payments, so a lot more direct as far as not allowing things to get too far in terms of late payments. So they're also going to introduce a no middleman group submission rule, which is probably the biggest takeaway and big change. The deposit, I don't think most people are going to have too much of an issue for that because it probably just makes more sense. And other third-party graders do institute that for group submitters, and some group submitters take the money up front anyway in order to try to so that everybody's covered. So I don't think it's going to throw people off too much as far as that's concerned. But having the no middleman thing where the group submitter is expected to submit directly to PSA if such a thing is going to happen is probably the biggest direct impact of the Marx Card thing, because I think they just want to avoid the liability of having the folks, an additional party in the middle of the whole thing and making things more complicated. So it is certainly understandable that they would incorporate a rule like that going forward. Now, this is just included in there was a little bit of information, kind of related to how somebody who is in this boat could contact them. Photo ID, confirmation they submitted directly to Marx Cards or another group submitter that is submitted to Marx Cards. If there's another group submitter, provide the name. So basically, you're providing information to make it easier to figure out who you are and then be able to compare the orders that are associated to certain names and handles to the individuals. So there is going to be a bit of a delay because there's a lot to do as far as getting this whole process done. And I can imagine it's going to be a logistical nightmare to put all the pieces together and get all the orders. So even if you have names, if the names don't come with corresponding addresses and information of where to send it, then you got to put all those pieces together. And I suspect that is going to take them some time to unwind fully. From the grading perspective, I don't think that's going to be too big an issue because, as we well know, that PSA at this point, capacity-wise, can easily do 40 or 50,000 cards. So honestly, the 50,000 cards would be about 1 day worth of grading, production. The big delay is really going to come down to getting the information to the for where to send the right cards to the right people to make sure everybody actually gets their stuff, but not only gets their stuff, but gets the right stuff. because it's not going to help anybody to get the wrong cards back, after having to wait and deal with this whole ordeal in the first place. So that's definitely going to be a big part of it. So like I said, I will include a link to this Cardporn post as part of this. And then let me talk a couple of quick points here about the crossover episode itself. This is a clip that they pulled out from the crossover episode where they did talk to, like I said, Kevin Lenane, president of PSA as far as that's concerned. And he had a couple more things to add in addition to what I said already in the Cardporn post. He did mention that they're going to be verifying how they had to originally verify how the bankruptcy would affect their ability to send the cards out. So that created a bit of a delay in communicating exactly what they were going to do, because when there's a bankruptcy involved, you got to figure out legally what you can do. Because like I said, there was incomplete information. How are they going to be able to get stuff back? Are they going to grade it? Are they going to just send it back as is? Figuring all that out is part of understanding what their rights are, and also specifically what they can do legally as far as the whole bankruptcy proceeding. I already mentioned the policy change about the 50% upfront. That is mentioned on here. And now, one piece that was included here towards the end, because obviously PSA representative, president of PSA would be the right person to ask. There was a question included in this interview. So like I said, I'll include a link to this in the description for you. A big piece takeaway also, separate from the Marx Cards piece, is that Josh here asked what the backlog state is right now and where they're looking at in terms of getting caught up. So Kevin Lenane here actually cited that they're shooting to have the backlog, like the current existing backlog that has been going on for this whole time, they're shooting to have it done by the beginning of the fall. So they feel like they're on track to actually hit it somewhere in a September-October timeframe for the existing backlog. Now, they do have certain service levels that are going to be 90 days, but obviously that would be new, fresh backlog. And then as long as they can meet those, then they expect that they'll be able to steadily shift more and more of the resources towards new submissions. But for the moment, that is what they're shooting for, a September-October timeframe on the existing backlog of the stuff that's left to still be graded. Obviously, still quite a bit of stuff because they are getting stuff out at quite a large rate. But it is a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel as far as the long-standing backlog is concerned. Obviously, we'll have to see how they do as far as that's concerned. And then obviously, I know that I can tell you pretty much for a fact that some folks that are submitting net new are getting their stuff back within the timeframes allotted. So we'll see if that continues, and we'll see how the backlog does and if they're able to hit that target. So overall, biggest takeaways, obviously, we're still getting the fallout from the Marx Cards thing. That is going to make changes about how the group submitter policies are done. There's going to be an expectation that there's going to be an upfront payment. Probably a good thing overall for everybody. And then no fourth parties, no middleman to the middleman. So that's going to be out as far as that's concerned, a good thing as well. Approximately 50,000 cards were affected. A quarter of them have been graded so far. The expectation is they'll grade the rest of them and send them out as soon as they're able to get a lot of the information that's missing. So they're trying to collect that and accumulate it. And lastly, as far as the backlog is concerned, they're shooting for a September-October timeframe. So it's sometime in the fall that they believe they'll be able to get the backlog. And along the way, you can probably expect that they'll bring back some more service levels to now go below the $50 threshold that we have today. So those are the big takeaways. Obviously, as more things come out and things happen, we'll definitely discuss it some more, and we'll see how these things go. I'll be interested to see, obviously, with a lot of the prognostications about the market, and then if you listen to the last live stream, a friend of the channel, Eric, has already told us that July the 1st is when everything collapses and we're doomed. I did enjoy it, and obviously there are some folks who would agree with that assessment. So we'll see. As far as from a collector perspective, I don't think it's going to affect me too much, and I'll talk about this more later on in a separate video. But I do think it's interesting to see how this will all affect the market. If PSA is available at those lower price points, that will reactivate part of the market. But obviously, what happens economically is also going to have an impact. Even if their availability is there, how's that going to affect the other third-party graders? There's a lot of areas that you can expand beyond. But that's beyond the scope of this video and this update. So just a big takeaway, big picture. They're definitely moving pieces. A lot of things are going on. I expect there will still be some more shoes to drop. Obviously, there's still the possibility of being more bulk submitters that could be stuck in similar type of issues. And we'll have to see how PSA responds to those as we're going forward. But for the moment, this is the biggest one, and it's definitely impacted some changes already. Anyway, I think that's it for now. I welcome any thoughts or comments that you have in the comments section. Do you think, could PSA have done more? Should they have done more? Is there something else that you would have preferred them doing in the way it's going? Do you feel that the September-October timeframe, do you think they could hit that? Do you think they'll not even come close? That's another avenue to kind of discuss and talk about. And the other thing is, do you think it'll make any difference whatsoever? If PSA was suddenly available and able to grade at the lower price points that a lot of folks want, would that reignite a section of the market? There's a lot of moving parts, of course, but it'll be interesting to see if that has any impact at all. And of course, if it, like I said, if it does impact any other third-party graders and their price points and what they decide to do in response. Other than that, more videos coming on the channel. Live streams as always on Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where we'll talk about anything else coming up and any other things happening in the hobby. Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks very much. We'll catch you in the next one.